is Little Jimmy Urine from Mindless Self Indulgence, and you are listening to Pure Grain Audio. That would be an Akai 950 sampler and an Atari STacy computer, both from around 1987, late 80s, around that time. And I use them heavily on my new record, which is a lost record, where I had to go back and recreate sounds from the 90s. So I totally pulled them both out of storage and just hooked them up and used them again. They are they're old and cool, and nobody's going to use them. Everybody wants to use modern new equipment, so it's cool to use a lot of old shit like this because no one's fucking using it anymore. It's all plugins. And so with a 950, if you even if you have a nice new synth or a nice breakbeat or something, if you sample it in a 950, it just crunches it up and compresses it and fucks it up. And then you play it out, and you can kind of fuck it up a little bit when you play it out, and so it gets a real fucked up sound, which is, of course, what we love in Mindless Self Indulgence, is a fucked up sound. It was used incredibly extensively because my new record is actually a lost record that is from the early 90s. So I had to go back and find all the original discs and the original sounds, and those were all done on a 950, which I've been using since about 87, and an Atari STacy, which again I've been using since about 87, 88. And so finding all those old discs and loading everything up and loading everything in the samplers and kind of dialing through and everything and finding it was very important to use those. Then I had to transfer up through generations of equipment into modern laptops like this. And that took for fucking ever. But it helped really get the sound of my new record, which is a retro sound. We just sort of just go fucking, who gives a shit? We hate keyboardists. We hate keyboardists and guys with laptops and all that shit. So we just give it all to the drummer, and she puts all the tracks into sequences, and she just operates it and plays it, and she controls it, and she's this giant drum machine where she's got, pads and things that she uses and real drums, and things are all synced up, and we all look to her. She's like a living robot. And that's Kitty, our drummer. And so we just sort of look to her for cues of like, okay, this is coming, here we go, bam! And then she just kicks into it. Usually I'll say some stuff in between songs, and me and her will have a joke worked out, and when I slam in the punchline, bam, song starts. So you don't have any time to fucking laugh or any, just next thing, banging right through. I would say that the cons are things can break electronically, they can go down, or you can lose electricity, in which case we smash everything. The pros are, if everything goes down electronically, we get to smash everything. Yes, I do. I always buy backups of everything. I mean, even with this stuff, I'll go on eBay, and if I'm using this extensively or I'm using that extensively, I'll go on eBay and find it. Usually it's cheap because I use old shit. And I'll try to get doubles or sometimes triples if I'm really, if it's something very unique, I'll use triples of stuff. And so, yes, I definitely 100%, as advice, I would say always have at least one fucking backup of your equipment. I've had all this equipment since the mid 80s into the 90s, and I definitely still use it. On, if not for making a whole record like Pink, even for certain tracks on earlier records or for future records, I definitely go back to it for certain sounds that you just can't get anymore live. I do move up to some modern plugins that replace some of these things, but only if they replace it dead on, even only if it's like almost an emulator. And then I'll definitely be like, wow, what the hell was I thinking looking at this teeny little screen when I could be looking at a giant laptop screen? But for the most part, I love to still use it. Probably the best gear goes wrong story from Mindless Self Indulgence that does not include us smashing everything and leaving, and then cutting ourselves or doing crazy shit like that, would be in the early 2000s, late 90s, the cool new thing was mini disc. Everybody's into mini disc, and they were these big professional mini disc players. And we were like, this is so cool. We can really control what song, and we can redo the set list on the fly. We don't have to re-record anything or move anything around. We could literally like tell Kitty, dial in, I Hate Jimmy Page, and she could be like, okay, bam, and then we just go into Jimmy Page. So we loved it. We were like, this gives us so much freedom. It's so great. But the problem with mini discs was low end was their enemy. So if there was ever any low end, like super huge subs, it would make it skip, but not skip like in a row, just where it would pause for 2 seconds and then continue. So you would be playing the song, and then the song would stop for 2 seconds, and then you'd be playing, and you'd be like, why am I slightly off? I'm still in the verse, and we're in the chorus. And okay, we got to catch up, And then it would pause again. You'd be like, what the fuck? And especially when we were opening for huge acts, like if we were opening for Korn in like Staples Center, the subs are huge. So, you'd be playing a song and be like, wah, bah, 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 da, bah, bah. And we're like, wait, what the fuck just happened? And it was disastrous, but nobody could tell because our music is so fucked up. Nobody could ever tell that we were slightly out by 4 or 5 seconds every measure or every verse. It was like a on the fly remix from Mindless Self Indulgence that Mindless Self Indulgence had no clue was being done. My final thoughts and comments on all this gear is if you like it, it doesn't matter how old the gear is or how lo-fi the gear is or how fucked up the gear is. If it works for you, if it works for your project, then always use it. That's why I keep all this old shit, because this drum machine is super dope, or this, Akai 3000 is super dope for some particular thing that I may need. So I tend to keep all my old shit because you never know when I'm going to fucking reach out and be like, whoa, what's this? I'm going to need to use this. I don't know. So it doesn't matter that it's old. A lot of times in electronic equipment, people are just like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? But you got to look at it as if you were like somebody with a classic guitar, where it's like, this thing gets me that sound, I'm going to use it. If you find this in a plugin and it works for you and it replaces this and it starts to collect dust, then sell it on eBay. But for the most part, an old drum machine sounds fucking cool when you fucking turn it back the fuck on, So old gear is cool and I love it.